Howdy, all you delicious people. I'm here today to talk to you about Omniscient Season 1 review. If I pronounce that name of the show correctly or incorrectly, it is what it is. But more than likely, I'm not really going to probably talk about character names. More than likely, I might just be talking about the main character and their brother or their boyfriend or their friend or their relative or this and that. Probably won't go into much character names and whatever, what have you. I just want to make that clear. So, of course, I also want to make it clear that one, if you like any of the reviews that I do, because some of them are very odd and random and whatever, at the end of the day, definitely subscribe. We're going to do kind of content like this all the time. Definitely, there's going to be a link down in the description to be able to donate to this channel. Especially if you want a better technical setup than what we have now, without a doubt, you can go ahead and do that. Reasonably, of course, as usual, I always do a non-spoiler and then spoiler variation of the show, so you'll know what it is without actually like needing to fully fledgedly know exactly what goes on in the show. I'm going to kind of give you just enough to get you interested in this show if you haven't heard of it, and then I'll get into spoilers and really tell you what actually happens in the show and how I felt about it, this and that, whatever, what have you. Anyways, so let's first talk about this show in a non-spoiler variation. Reasonably for me, how I kind of felt about the show is kind of obvious at some aspects. This show kind of really does kind of feel to me about somebody just wanting to beat the system. There's rules set up. There seems to be some kind of malfunction with this new kind of setup, and now somebody wants to defiantly I can't let this go. I need to find out what happened. And this becomes a very much murder mystery kind of show. It does kind of really, in a lot of ways, kind of really does feel very much like the Will Smith movie I, Robot. It kind of really does feel like that, but ultimately, in this world, there is no real detective agency. The detective agency are all these little tiny little drones that are very tiny compact things. That is the detective world. Why? Because these drones evidently work 24/7 for some bizarre-ish reason. And are watching these people at all times, which is bizarre. Evidently, they have no like charging process. I don't understand that at all. Maybe they can live like they have a battery life somehow much longer than any normal person lives. I don't know what's going on there, and I guess it really doesn't matter. Anyways, and I guess drones could be like replaced like all the time or whatever, what have you. Anyways, so you have it to where there's a murder mystery going on, and then this girl is defiantly, because of some technicality, she is trying to defy the odds. It becomes a very much a man versus machine kind of thing. Again, this kind of feels like a iRobot kind of movie. It kind of feels like an episode of Black Mirror extended to make another show on its own, bizarrely, for some reason. I don't understand why, because really doesn't honestly feel like there's really enough that is real edge of your seat kind of interesting things. A lot of this stuff is just kind of technical jargon, which ultimately I'm just kind of like, I kind of phased in and out at quite a bit of times, because like once you kind of get a lot of technical jargon, I'm just like, okay, just get to the point. Like, what is the thing that you're going to use this for? Get to the point, please. Don't go into so much technical jargon about fingerprints and and what you're gonna use this for, just effing do it. Don't give me a whole lecture about what all you're gonna do, all the steps, all the moves, all of hope everything goes right, this and that. Because that's kind of what this show goes through. Like, it really wants to tell you how complex or difficult what this girl is doing, and I honestly don't care enough to want to hear about how difficult this is for this girl to get and do and go through all of this stuff. Because it's just like habda habda habda. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Get to the point, please. Get to the point. But anyways, this girl, while she goes on this, I guess you can call this revenge mission, she kind of suckers a lot of people in, whether it's her brother, whether it's her friends or relatives, um, all these people, this and that, trying to solve this murder. Ultimately leading towards more the end of the movie that I think just gets to the point where it seems like at the end or at the end of this show, she's really just kind of just like guessing randomly in the air who the murderer could be, and luckily enough, this murderer does confess. Like, what if she remained silent? Then this person would never effing know who actually the killer was at the end of all this. But realistically, like, maybe this person is not exactly the killer. Maybe she hired somebody who was a killer, and this and that. Anyways, so yeah, it gets to a lot of showcasing about these drones on how it's weird and awkward for somebody to be around a drone, because not everybody has drones where they're from, because ultimately this one place might just have drones where nobody else does. Reasonably, there are times when people can get around having a drone, or people can get around having a drone being sent to them and whatever and what have you. There's kind of ways around all this rigmarole. That's explained in the film. There are a couple sex scenes in this movie, or in, I don't know why I keep calling it a movie. It kind of feels like a movie to me because it was just kind of like a really long-winded movie to me, because ultimately just it really didn't feel like a show, because like there's only so much you can really just casually like. I really casually watched this show, because ultimately I don't like. This show was not. There's nothing about it exciting. There was a lot of like I said, technical aspects. This girl was trying to get this job, and she was trying to get like the best like pitch of this fixing mechanic. So way she is like, they have some bizarre grading system on this job, and you have to be number one, and bizarrely enough, and because there's only one position in this job, and it's effing like, what the F is that? So we get to an aspect of now we're trying to wrap our heads around this show and what it is. There are a lot of the times when these people do make mistakes and then they have to figure out some way to correct it. There are times when they have to make it seem like they're trying to do like the very first Mission Impossible, where Tom Cruise is kind of dangling over this computer to get the knock list or whatever it's called, and then he eventually has to like wipe his or kind of is like waving his hands because he's right next to the ground and he can't touch the ground, because the ground will set off an alarm and this and that and whatever what have you. Anyways, um, so the problem with this show is, again, it's not really all that exciting. There's really nothing about it that's like it's just a murder mystery. If you're excited with that, then this will be an interesting show. But if you're not excited about murder mysteries, then yeah, this might be an arduous process to watch if you haven't seen it. But if you've already seen it, then let's actually just go in and talk about it. Talk about the show. I don't think there's not much to say. Besides, it's a show about little drones following people around, um, and they are the detectives of the world. They are the police force of the world, and ultimately they are trying to help these people questioningly sometimes get through their days, but ultimately all the while, and these people really depend on their phones, even much more so than we ever did, or we ever do now. But, anyways, one thing also is just the fact that, like, it seems like when this murder is happening, it seems like it's affecting this person trying to do this investigation, this revenge, or whatever it is. It seems like it's affecting her and her brother, and to where they're having so many troubles trying to do things. They're having so many problems trying to, like, everything is not working out for them all right around this time, and they're just trying to make it through, make it ends meet, and quite possibly accidentally doing some crime accidentally. Anyways, so, or not really accidentally, they're doing a crime, and the drone catches them at doing that. So, yeah, this is an okay show. Again, not that exciting. So let's go on to spoilers. I'm gonna give you a double 5 count, and then we are going into spoilers. So, yeah, this is kind of just an okay show. It wasn't that exciting. It's not great. It was just something to watch if you have some time. But other than that, spoiler time. Spoiler time. I'm gonna rhyme because it's that time again to spoil the show. If you don't want to know what happens in the show, this is your time to go. But if you want to just kind of listen regardless, because ultimately by what I said you have no interest in the show or this and that, maybe just like hearing my voice for some reason, you can do that. So, what is this show in a spoiler heavy sense, now that everybody just wants to hear what I have to say about the show anyways? Yeah, this show comes down to who murdered my daddy? Who murdered my daddy? Yeah, so this girl kind of goes off one day and her father is shot, but no one could see who the killer was. So they just marked it down as an accident, which is absurd because bullet and guy. But so these people are just like, okay, well, there's something wrong with this. There's something wrong with the system. Like, people are getting murdered, and like, people are writing it off as just an accident. It makes no sense because there is no police system. So ultimately, this woman has to find out who the killer of her father is, and her brother wants to help, but also he's kind of doing it in not the best ways. And there are relatives or friends of this girl that are gonna help her out also, but they're worried about their livelihood as well, as if they're gonna go to prison and this and that. But anyways, um, she also gets to talk much more with this guy, trying to get some information of where she is at the job. Is she at a good setting? Is she at a bad setting? Um, like she really needs this job. Ultimately, kind of to consistently try to impress her bosses, and some stuff doesn't exactly go her way. Um, Ultimately, leading to where she just decides to otherwise just like go, okay, like I'm like my only goal is to find the revenge of my to get the revenge to find out who killed my pop. So she asks people, it's like, hey, like, can I get the footage of what like the last days of my father? And they're like, well, no, you can't do that because it's not that easy. And it's like it's the last things that somebody sees, like, no, that's not, no, you can't do that. Anyways, so this girl is utterly defiant, goes through and tries to get some hacking of this computer. It's in some kind of room. She eventually goes into some kind of astronaut like environment because evidently she really wanted to be an astronaut. She goes in this environment that's kind of sealed in some kind of weird, bizarre gas, and because of bugs going on, because she caused it. And so reasonably, she goes and ultimately tries to hack into the system to get the photos or videos that she needs of her dad. All the while, there's also other videos and photos requested on this thing here because ultimately there's some shenanigans going on that maybe this girl isn't exactly aware of. So, so this main character eventually is just more and more just trying to get as far as she can to get this problem solved. All the while, her brother is getting into trouble, and then she has to go and rescue him by like hot watering some car of some kind. Um, so that way these guys can get a lot of money. Uh, she, like I said, is doing all these like side things for people and this and that. Anyways, it gets to a point where eventually, via a reflection, because there was no showing of this killer, there was a reflection on the TV of who this killer was, bizarrely enough. Because heaven forbid, the cops even try to zoom in to try to do the same thing either on this photo. Because evidently there is no cops, so no one cares. Again, so anyways, it gets down to where these people zoom out the picture and find out the culprit, the killer, the whatever. So they track him down, knowing that evidently he is really good on wanting a lot of cameras. He has this whole museum of cameras that they lie and they say that they're there to document this, but they don't know about cameras. Ultimately, leading to where he pulls a gun, talks about his life story, leading him up to the point, doing a 12-mile walk to be able to get drone free from this place and be able to happily be able to murder the main character's father. Anyways, so you have this woman that is really helping the main character out, and eventually, ultimately, like at first, the main character goes and accuses this one family that has nothing to do with it, but then eventually she accuses somebody else. And luckily, I guess, for that person does confess, because otherwise, yeah, this movie would just be like, okay, well, I guess this woman that got outed, like she can just have this person be dead or whatever. No, she just straight up confesses, stupidly enough. Makes no sense. And ultimately it leads to the confession of this woman. And basically the confession was like, yeah, I just wanted to get these photos to blackmail these people so I can make a better rung of life. And because evidently she wanted to cheat her way to the top. And then the main character is just dumbfounded of just like, oh my god, you killed my father just because you knew I was just so stubborn that I wasn't gonna let this go. That you like I was gonna go out of my way to beat all this technology to prove that this system is wrong and flawed and whatever, and that that there's so many things wrong about it. There is so many like pre-planning of what's going on before these crimes, which again, like you would think that that camera would pick up on like a preemptive crime possibly. I don't know, it's weird. But anyways, so I go through and I watch this thing and I see the woman confessing about like, well, she wanted to just blackmail people and she thought she was doing good and this and that. Weird, weird. Anyways, so what I ultimately thought about this movie, it was just kind of, it was just a thing to watch if you had some time. But man, other than that, there's not much about this movie. It's very simple. It's a movie with a gimmick. It's a movie that has some kind of specific thing about it that makes it unique, but not unique enough. So I don't know. That's kind of just what I felt about the movie. And pretty much after like the whole like confession of this family member that's with this main character, ultimately like everybody's just kind of saying all of their buys. People are moving out of the state or moving out of the wherever they're at, move somewhere else, or travel or whatever to a different job, this and that. Other than that, there's not much going on in this film because ultimately, I guess there's only so much you can do. So, anyways, yeah, I'm gonna call this one a wrap. Goodbye, everybody. Goodbye, everybody.